Everyone to please stand as we invite Councilmember Rod Speedout to lead us in our invocation.
Let's pray. God, you promise to give strength to those who are weary, to encourage those who are downcast, and to give wisdom to those who ask you. So knowing that we are not the sum of all things, that we do need to rely on a greater power, we ask that you would give us wisdom and inspire our thought processes. Help us to work together for the good of the city of Fergus Falls and its long-term prosperity. We pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I know I pledged allegiance to your head.
Well, it's 5:30 on Monday, June 19, 2017, and I'll call this meeting of the Fergus Falls City Council to order. Roll call, please.
Here.
Effort.
Here.
Fish.
Here.
Rachel.
Here.
Clifford.
Here.
Arneson.
Here.
Thompson.
Here.
Speedo.
Here.
We have a quorum. First item of business on the agenda is the approval of the agenda and the committee of the whole recap. Andrew, did you want to talk about the committee of the whole meeting at all?
Yeah, Your Honor, members of the council, real quickly, we recapped the capital improvement or CIP process that the city uses, looked at what the planning commission's role in that process is, looked at what the city council's role in that process is, and then we established the groundwork to move forward on a new strategic planning effort to get the city council's priorities back identified and at the top of a list. So really just recapping some of our long-term capital project planning initiatives.
Thank you, Andrew. Anyone have anything to add to that? If not, did you have any corrections or additions to the agenda? Did anyone else have any additions to the agenda? If not, we will need a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Thank you, Jim. Anthony? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Under public hearings this evening, we have a final cost hearing for public improvement 7751 stormwater spillway construction between 100 and 102 West Hillside Avenue. Our city engineer, Brian Ybarra, will walk us through this.
Thank you, Your Honor, and good evening. Before you, this is the final cost hearing for public improvement 7751. This was a 100% petition project from the benefited property owners located at 100 and 102 Hillside Drive West. This drainage improvement that consisted of adding additional riprap for the flows coming from the city's storm sewer system. As I mentioned, today is the final hearing date. All costs have been calculated. Total project cost is $11,627.21. Portion of this project, based of $9 per unit for the benefiting properties, is their share amount is $944.28. The total remaining funds of $9,738.65 will be funded out of the Stormwater Fund. As I mentioned, today's final hearing date. The interest rate on this particular financing is 4.5%, due date July 31st, 2017, and the assessment term of 5 years. So at this time, to complete this project, I'm requesting the council open up through a public hearing and then adopt a resolution accepting the final cost associated with this public improvement project.
Thank you, Brian. With that, I will open the hearing. Anyone wishing to speak to this improvement, please step to the lectern and state your name. Hearing none, I will close the hearing. This back to the council for any discussion or a resolution approving the project. Is there a resolution adopting assessment for?
I'll make that motion.
7751?
I'll make that
Brent,
motion.
thank you.
I'll second that, Your Honor.
Thank you, Darren. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Hicks.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Fish.
Yes.
Rachel.
Yes.
Rupert.
Yes.
Arneson.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Speedo.
Yes.
Resolution is approved. Item number 2 is a final cost hearing for public improvement 7196 sewer and water service replacement for the 700 block of North Cleveland Avenue.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Also enclosed, this is a 100% petition project for a sanitary sewer service improvement to 4 benefiting properties located at 711, 715, 719, and 723 Cleveland Avenue North. The project has been completed. The assessment rates are tallied in front of you. The total project cost is $18,865.73. One particular property owner has already paid their costs in full. So this, I'm seeking resolution adopting the remaining project costs for 715, 719, and 723. The interest rate is set at 4.5%, due date July 31st, 2017, and the assessment term in this public improvement project is 15 years.
Thank you, Brian. With that, we will open the hearing. Anyone wishing to speak to this issue, please step to the lectern and state your name. Seeing no one, we will close the hearing. This back to the council. We will need a resolution adopting the assessment for public improvement 7196. Thank you, Anthony.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Jim. Roll call, please.
Hicks.
Yes.
Pepper.
Yes.
Fish.
Yes.
Rachels.
Yes.
Hoover.
Yes.
Arneson.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Speedo.
Yes.
The resolution is approved. There are no bids to award this evening. Under petitions and communications, we will have an update from the Pebble Lake Golf Club Board from Mr. Kevin Swenson. Sorry. Kevin.
Council, Mayor, quick update on the golf course where we're at. So far this season, we opened April 1st, had a decent April, had a very cool, wet May. We were behind on our rounds, and our memberships have been down a little bit. So far this season, there's been 7,168 rounds played, and we're only a third into our season, which is, I think last year we had almost 14,000 rounds total. So we're just getting into our busy season, June, July, and August, so we're excited about that. We measure that so far from January 1st through June 12th. Our season pass holder rounds have been equaled by our guest rounds played, which guest rounds are all paid out of town players that come and play from our golf course from all over the place, which is very rare. Usually as member rounds are played more so than any of the green fee rounds, so they're about dead even. Lance and his crew have done a fabulous job of getting our golf course in shape. It's probably in the best condition it's been in years. You have to come out and check it out, play. I'm sure I can figure out a way to get you on a golf cart and some clubs and get you going. We've had 2,166 players visit the practice facility, driving range practice greens. 1,487 range ball buckets have been hit through June 12th. So a lot of people are coming in to visit, mainly in the evenings. We are tracking pretty decently as far as memberships go monetarily. I don't have any financials with me. We can update that later and we can get those to Scott. I don't know how much fluctuation there is in our memberships. Last year we were somewhere around the 260 paid households for memberships. This year we're about 220, just under 220, and I don't know how much fluctuation there is year to year. I'm the first one that's really actually tracked it starting last year, so we'll see where that goes. I have 24 new members this season, and I also have, again, a very strong youth camp, which started 2 weeks ago. I have 70-plus kids. They range from 4 years old all the way to 18 years old, so that's growing. So far, PLGC is that we've entertained 14 facility non-golf events to date. We've had 17 golf events to date, with 3 coming this week. Now through September, there's another 27 golf events and 9 golfing events. For 2018, we've already booked 2 full weddings, which means we're going to do the wedding ceremony on the grounds off the deck and have the reception in the building. And they're both 400-plus guests. So we're moving in the right direction. I want to really push that and get that going. That's good income for us. Everyone who's come out has really raved about the golf course conditions, how nice and clean the clubhouse is kept. and how nice it is to have all the facets of our business on one level. It's very easy for people to come in, visit, move around, and get out to the facility. The only numbers I have for you right now, my simple menu that I'm trying this year is basically a convenience store style menu that we offer 7 days a week. I bring in local licensed caterers, do all of our big days and events. And I've spent about $7,000 in food so far, and we've sold about $6,100 in foods, and definitely the difference is in inventory. So we're definitely breaking even. So that's a huge plus for us. We've incurred losses the last 5 years, so that's encouraging. So on a quick note, that's where we're at right now. I just wanted you guys to know where we're at moving into June.
Thank you.
Questions?
Thank you, Kevin. Anyone have any questions of Kevin? Scott, anything from the board?
Anthony's looking at you.
No, I think I've heard a lot of positive things about the golf club, and so I think we're moving in the right direction, and a lot of that is due to your leadership out there. So I think you should
Thank you.
take the time to pat yourself on the back for doing what you're doing, and the city, and I am
yeah.
grateful for it. So thank you.
I think we're going in a good direction. It's fun to see it move forward, so.
I try to make every meeting, and I think I missed the last one. I didn't get it there, but they got a good crew. Kevin's getting more organized. It's a more organized of the monetary, where the money's going, how the play's going, and of course we're seeing it increase. And Lance, of course, has been tackling it, trying to do better things, and some of the big arguments of what trees to cut down and not to cut down. I think it's kind of an interesting sit through that to watch those guys. He wants to cut some down and nobody
Right.
does. And so anyway, but there is some changes coming down the road. I think it's going to make it a lot better for the business side of the golf course. So look forward to that, seeing that towards the end of the year, I think.
Definitely.
I think one other thing that our group just started out there, we put in some senior tees. I mean, we've had the blue, the white, and the red. We now have a senior tee that's being teed up between the red and the white. So some of us older folks can get a little better score. I mean, we can't get to the greens in regulation in 2 shots or 3 shots the way we used to be able to. And the senior tees are going to help that, and I think it's going to help the course also.
Makes it very inviting for all players,
Yes.
definitely.
You're on there. So is there a little stand on the senior tees to put your teeth in, Jim? While you swing, so you don't lose them?
No.
They are behind the girls' tee, though. That's one thing about it.
No, that's the upfront tee.
Okay, I'm
We
sorry.
don't call them.
Yeah, I know. I
We
get
call
trouble
those
for that
forward
one.
tees now.
Strike that.
Definitely.
Strike that from the record. Kevin is currently teaching my kids to golf in addition to 68 others, so he should be commended for his patience.
Yeah, it's quite a zoo, that's for sure.
Well, thank you, Kevin.
Thank you very much.
Good work out at the golf club. There is no open forum this evening. Under the consent agenda, there's a list in your packet as well as on the board here. I'm not going to read through them all unless somebody wants to pull one. Is there anything from the consent agenda anyone wants to discuss further?
Number 7.
Number 7. Any others? If not, is there a resolution to approve the consent agenda minus item number 7?
I'll make that.
Thank you, Rod.
Second, Your Honor.
Thank you, Tom. Roll call, please.
Hicks.
Yes.
Pappert.
Yes.
Fish.
Yes.
Regis.
Yes.
Hooper.
Yes.
Arneson.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Beal.
Yes.
The resolution is approved. Now, item number 7 is a resolution accepting Stantec's Design and Construction Administration Professional Services proposal for the RTC Campus Phase 1 project, which is Public Improvement 9692. Rod, do you have a question on that, or do you want to speak to that?
Yes, please. Your Honor, I was looking at, and I don't have the page right in front of me, but, oh, there it is. You talked about an hour not to exceed fee for some of the work. I believe that's due to the cap we have, the amount of funding that we have available. Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong, and also that the cost is right up there with hitting that upper limit. Is that correct, or maybe Brian?
Yeah, Mr. Speedo, what you're referring to, that's pretty typical in a lot of our projects based on, it's more hourly not to exceed, because some of the unknowns for the administration costs and everything, be attributed to this project and everything right now, so.
Yeah, and I think that's wise. My concern was, and I don't know if it may have been talked about already, but when we went down to St. Paul and talked about some of the money we had and what we were going to do and try to do things, that the concern is we get the most out of that, and I'm sure the staff is trying to do that. What I was concerned is if we have any overruns, I didn't want the city to have to kick in, or have a building in any
No.
partial state of demolition, and so I was just going to make sure that we have either a buffer there, or we have a guarantee that we're going to clean up everything we start, and the city doesn't have to pick up any.
That is true, and that's how this will be a single base bid contract with a variety of alternates with the budgetary, the 1.9, I can't precisely, 1.91, re-encumbered and everything. That's the target that we're going for. So as we go through design, if we have any overruns, which are all eligible reimbursable expenses associated with the project. But yes, we may not be able to get to all the phase ones with this budgetary amount.
Your Honor, just to further that point, the base bid is going to be based on the tunnels being demolished, and then the addendums will be the other buildings that we identified last time. And like we talked about, this is a not to exceed amount here for the professional services, and then we would award the project à la carte style to ensure that, and obviously when we award those bids, there's going to be a good contingency figured in, so doing it in that order to protect any overruns and running out of time.
And then the follow-up, Your Honor, if I could, is just the timelines that we put on the bids. I know we wanted some things started quite rapidly, and we wanted to have some things in place so that we could show we were making progress.
Yes.
I don't note that in here, but is that going to be in the bidding?
Yes, Andrew and I have spoke with our consultant and everything about schedule. So the first step is to approve this, so they have authorization to actually proceed with the plans and specs. And we're going to try to simultaneously do a few sequential things with SHPO, start engaging them right away too as well.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor, and thank you, Brian. Good work on this.
Rod, would you like to?
Oh, yeah.
Resolution?
I'll offer that we accept that.
Thank you, Rod. Is there a second? Scott, thank you. Any further discussion or questions of Brian? If not, roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Resolution is approved. Thank you, Brian. Under ordinances and resolutions, item number 1 is a first reading of ordinance 59-7 series sales and use tax, which I believe is just a slight wording change from the state auditor on our library tax.
That's correct. Before you is a proposed ordinance, if you recall, at the special election of November 8th of 2016, the citizens authorized the imposition of one half of 1% sales tax to finance the betterment of the public library. Minnesota State Legislature has approved it and authorized it, and here before you is a proposed ordinance that will carry through with that, and then we'll enact a law that allows the city to collect effective January 1st of 2018. The only change between what it was provided to you previously is removal of a larger area of section 12.09 at the request and suggestion of an individual with the Department of Revenue. They felt that what we had there, we didn't need to have all that extra verbiage, and they simply said just to insert that our tax is governed by Minnesota state statutes, which it is anyway. So that's we've shortened it a little bit, and so before you is the proposed ordinance that will allow collection of the sales tax, and if this is something you want to do, then you should have a first reading.
Someone would like to introduce
I
that?
will introduce that, Your Honor.
Jim, thank you. Item number 2 is a first reading of ordinance 60, 7th series, amending city code 7.21, permitted uses. Rolf or April was,
I can speak to that, Your Honor. We had a request to allow for a barber beauty shop to be located in a B2 zone, which is not necessarily permitted under our zoning. In talking matters with Gordon and with April, it was determined that maybe it makes some sense to allow barbers and beauty shops to be permitted within a B2 zone. This is the zone, the question was in fact for a salon that's to be located next to Caribou, I believe, is that right, April?
The question came in just for clarity, and
Okay.
it's out on County Road 1.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, so staff felt that it made some sense to allow barbers and beauty salons and shops to be placed in a B2 zone, and so we drafted a proposed ordinance for your consideration. Included in the ordinance then is to take that classification off on a B3 district, and it will be allowed in B3 districts just because it would be allowed in a B2. So it's B2 is less restrictive or more restrictive than B3.
It's currently in B3.
It's currently in
B3
B3.
to B2.
Yep, but it still will be allowed in B3.
Sure. Any questions of April or Rolf? And this did go to the plan, the zone?
I don't know if you,
No? All right. Any questions of April or Rolf? If not, does someone like to introduce that? Thank you, Brent. Item number 3 is a resolution accepting the Glacial Edge Trail Master Plan and directing staff to submit the plan to the Greater Minnesota Parks and Trails Commission. Ryan, would you like to speak to this?
Thank you, Your Honor and Council. Yes, at the October 3rd, 2016 City Council meeting, the council approved entering into a contract with the Hoisington-Kogler Group to develop a master plan for the Glacial Edge Trail. We now have a final draft of that plan, and I would like to present that to you. The full plan is available on the city website. We have a link for the full document. It was a little too large to include in your packets, but you should have a memo kind of outlining the draft master plan. I'm going to put this on present mode here. All right. So, I'll just click through it. It's on now. So, a little bit about the background of the Glacial Edge Trail. In 2015, Councilmember Speedall put together an application to submit a concept for the Glacial Edge Trail to the Greater Minnesota Regional Parks and Trails Commission. And that application was reviewed by the GMRPTC, and it received a medium ranking, which meant they liked the concept, they wanted to see some more. So in 2016, we again submitted an application to GMRPTC and got a higher ranking. We received a high approval ranking from them for designating the trail as regionally significant. So at that point, they requested that we go into the master plan development, which brought us to the contract with HKGI and getting a master plan developed. So that's where we are now. We started that process in October. There's a 4-phase plan to getting to a final draft for the master plan. The first phase was to organize the plan. So the consultants came in, we did a tour of the potential route. That was kind of a draft concept of the route at the time. We toured the route, took some pictures, and then phase 2, we started kind of developing an inventory of all of the data and information that was collected in the kind of tour in phase 1 of the plan. Phase 3 was to prepare a draft master plan. We had first draft to us early this month, had a few revisions to it, and we were given a final master plan a couple weeks ago. During the process, we had a number of meetings to gather some input and develop the plan. We had a project advisory group that met 3 times. They kind of were they oversaw the development of the plan. Had some professionals from the community, some residents from the community that helped on the process. We met with them on November 3rd, December 8th, and March 29th. We held a property owners meeting with some of the key stakeholders on November 3rd. We had 2 community open houses here in City Hall, one on December 8th and one on April 25th. We had a few city staff meetings here and there as the consultants were in for their work with the downtown and riverfront master plan. We would coordinate some staff meetings as well. Met with the Parks and Recreation Board a couple of times, most recently on June 12th, where they reviewed the final master plan and were in support of the plan. And then this evening here at City Council. I'll go back a little bit to that project advisory group that met 3 times. We had representation from the DNR, West Central Initiative, Lake Region Healthcare, Ottertail County, Partnership for Health, North Country Trail Association, Pedal Fergus Falls, City Council representative, and we had 3 city staff, myself, Gordon Hajdukovic, and Steve Plaza were on the project advisory group. Getting to kind of the plan itself, the master plan, it outlines a vision, the guiding principles, a preferred route, and phasing for development of the trail. So in the vision section, the big picture of the trail is for a 14-mile paved, 10-foot wide paved trail. It would basically feel like an extension of the Central Lakes Trail, kind of the same feel and concept of that trail, but extending it into town further and eventually out on the other side of town for future connections. This would be a non-motorized, multi-use trail, so we would foresee walkers, bikers, hikers, joggers. It would be ADA compliant for wheelchair use, rollerblading, those sorts of activities. So that's kind of the design and usage feel of the trail. And it's intended to be, to have connectivity both locally and regionally. So when we were pitching the concept to the GMRPTC for regional designation, we kind of gathered up all of the local nodes and assets that we could connect with the trail. That would include, we have connectivity with the downtown, the riverfront, M State campus, Kirkbride, and the future Ferber Park. And then it'll also be a kind of a greater regional connectivity trail connecting to the Central Lakes Trail, the North Country Trail, and the future Perham to Pelican Rapids Trail via a future extension along County Road 1. So that's the bigger vision behind the trail. And now I'll get into the route and phasing that was identified. So for the route, I'll break these into there's 4 segments, and I'll get into some more detail for each segment, but we have a south segment, central segment, north central segment, and far north segment. So you'll see that the trail starts down at the end of Central Lakes Trail, kind of meanders back towards downtown along the river, north from there through the M State campus to the Kirkbride, and then it'll pass through the north side of town through north of the city and townships to our north, eventually coming out on the northeast side of town, connecting with County Road 1 by the county garage. But I'll go into just a little more detail on some of the routes. So the south segment, it would start at Highway 210 and the Central Lakes Trail. There's a planned trailhead there for the Central Lakes Trail. We'll start just on the north side of that tunnel is where our trail would begin. It'll follow 210 and Pebble Lake Road all the way to Sheridan Street. Well, Pebble Lake Road will turn into Vernon and then to Sheridan Street. Go north up there to Veterans Park. And that's the end of the south segment. central segment will bring the trail from Veterans Park all the way to the Kirkbride, but the route would take it along the riverfront to begin with through downtown. There are a couple of different options or alternates that the trail could take through this central segment, depending on how and where the trail would cross the river. But it would initially be along the Riverwalk. The two options would be to cross at the falls with a trail bridge just south of the falls, just below the river end. If it were to take that route, it would not use any more of the Riverwalk at that point. It would go along the north side of the river, tying in with the river balcony concept in the downtown riverfront master plan. Or the other alternate would be to continue along the Riverwalk, the entire length of the Riverwalk, and cross the river near the mill site. Either way, the trail would eventually come to Stanton Avenue. It would follow Stanton Avenue to Broadway and enter the dairy site. It'll eventually come out west of Barefoot Park, and it'll turn north there along St. Andrew Street. It'll go by the County Museum, M State Campus, the Progress Drive site, and it'll cross Tower and into the County Government Services Center and the Kirkbride campus. The north central segment would take it from Kirkbride all the way out into, I think it'd be Arnold Township, whichever township to the north. Fergus Falls Township still? Okay. Leaving the Kirkbride campus, it would wrap around the Veterans Home. It would run along Skogmo to County Highway 27 and go north from that point. Similar to the downtown alternates, there are 3 alternates that the trail could take in the north central segment. There's a south segment, a central segment, and a north or south alternate, central alternate, and north alternate. The south one would be going through Woodland Heights. The central alternate would go just south of 244th Street, and the far north alternate would go along 250th Street. Whichever option it takes there, it would eventually come into the Ferber Park area, and it would run along some Port Authority property along the northern end of the Norgrens property, just east of Ferber Park. And then the far north segment would complete the route from the Norgrens property all the way to County Road 1. The preferred route would be to continue that straight line along the north side of the Norgren site, wrap around the south side of a pond there, and connect with Diversion Road, which it would run along Diversion Road all the way to County Road 1. So for phases, not only are there 4 sections or segments of the trail, there's 4 phases, and luckily they are also in the geographical order of the plan itself. So phase 1 is the south segment, phase 2 is the central segment, phase 3 is the north segment, and phase 4 is the far north segment. Each phase is broken down into some more details as well. So for example, phase 1, there's phase 1A and 1B. So the first phase would be to get the trail from end of Central Lakes Trail to near the end of the existing trail on Pebble Lake Road. And then 1B would be from there to Veterans Park. And each phase has it broken down into mini phases. But that's how we would kind of rate the priority of development in the future. Phase 1, get it from Central Lakes Trail to downtown. Phase 2, downtown to Kirkbride. And funding in the master plan, the goal of the master plan itself was to have something to submit back to GMRPTC, who would then recommend funding for legacy funds. But there are other possible funding partners such as the LCCMR funds. There's some federal transportation grants that could apply, MnDOT funds, statewide health improvement partnership, and the DNR local trail connections program would be some other funding options. And that's all I had, so I would take some questions.
Obviously, Ryan, it sort of outlines it being kind of an approximate cost, sort of 6 to 8 million. How much of that potentially is fundable by a third party?
Well, there's, thank you, Mr. Hicks, there's no matching requirements that are outlined in the legacy fund program. They would like to see matching. Obviously, it would help the application. It would be more enticing to commit matching dollars. I can't estimate what percentage we would be able to get from third party.
Have you done any research on what people have been awarded?
I haven't gotten into that level of research. No.
Because obviously, like, the first phase isn't too much money, so.
The master plan does break down the phases for costs and individual phases. The most expensive one would be phase 2, obviously, with the bridge possibilities. And those are just preliminary estimates. Likely the first step would be to request some funding for some more detailed engineering studies and analysis to narrow down the route and true costs for each segment. So we'd begin with not only phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, but starting with more detailed engineering for each segment.
Rod?
Your Honor, thanks a lot, Ryan. You've been a really tireless worker on this, and just been really great. I noticed that the bridge below the river inn was estimated to be much less than the bridge that would be down farther. I was wondering about public opinion as you gathered on those different concepts. Were there any remarkable differences in people wanting crossing at either place, or was that up in the air?
Thank you, Mr. Speedall. There wasn't a lot of, was there more with the downtown?
Right, that's what I was gonna add. If I could add, Mayor, Councilmember Speedall, that those 2 bridge crossings are within the downtown and riverfront master plan area as well, so we have looked at it in more detail through that process. The work still does need to be engineered to understand where could those bridge crossings go, and then work with the private property owners, and that's probably one of the bigger drivers as far as where it could go. Is it's going to land on private property, so we would need to continue that work with those property owners to come to a final resolution. And as Ryan indicated, this is a preliminary, getting that engineering number to understand better what those cost differences are. Some of it's related to the span of the bridge itself. One is shown to be much longer than the other, but there has not been any detail to engineering costs. It's using some formulaic data, I guess, for what other projects similarly have cost. So, but there isn't anything specific in detail to our project.
Yeah, I just follow up, Your Honor. And specifically, the public reaction to the 2 concepts, I was thinking about preferences. Did you notice any, as you had those up on the boards, people jotting down their preferences for either one? Was there any marked difference for either crossing?
There was not a large difference for either concept.
I realize it. Thank you for the answers.
Any other questions? Anthony?
Obviously that initial one I think was like around 750,000. Is that something that we can? After we've submitted the plan, how kind of soon could we pursue trying to do an application for that, or do we have to? Is there another phase to be done before we can kind of go after phase 1?
Sure. Well, you mean for phasing of the plan, or the next steps for our application?
For actually, like the south segment, that was the cheapest segment to do. And be kind of like getting a stake in the ground. If we get sort of money for that first piece, then that might help get money for the second piece and the third piece.
Right, that's why we phased it that way, the consultants phased it that way, is to get something initially started. We need to get the trail into town from where it is now. And once we have the trail with more visibility in town, there would be more momentum to get the remainders funded.
To Anthony's question, is there more engineering work that would need to be done before we actually request funding for any of the phase one?
Well, the first request would be for funding for engineering. Once we would have the engineering studies done, we could proceed to request funding for development, for construction. But the first step would be to request some funding to do those engineering studies, to get more detailed.
And we would be eligible to submit a funding application as soon as the Greater Minnesota Parks and Trails approves this plan, which is what the action we're looking for tonight is to send this plan on to them. So then we're eligible at that point. So right away, more or less.
Correct.
I'd like to offer that, Your Honor.
Offer that resolution. Thank you, Rod. Is there a second?
I'll
Darren?
second that, Your Honor.
Thank you, Darren. Is there any further questions of Ryan or discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Hicks.
Yes.
Pepper.
Yes.
Fish.
Yes.
Yes.
Rupert.
Yes.
Arneson. Thompson.
Yes.
Speedo.
Yes.
Resolution is approved. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Thank you to the committee, and all the staff who put so much time into that. I think we're all looking forward to that continuation of that project. Item number 4, under ordinances and resolutions, is a resolution accepting interstate engineering proposal and ordering plans and specs for public improvement 5312, College Way Tower Road to Western Avenue project. City Engineer Brian Uvarro.
Yes, thank you. Before you is in regards to the College Way from Tower Road to Western Avenue. We've been evaluating additional streets that we'd like to receive perhaps a resurfacing improvement. This College Way has been identified as a potential candidate that happens to be on our municipal state aid route, route number 124 to be exact. Our records indicate it was last done in 1996, received a mill and overlay. Pavement management index ranges this from 30 to 40, which is slightly, is low. Has higher ADT volumes in the city's network, and the utilities themselves are generally located in the green space area and the adjacent ditches. Therefore, requesting to initiate this public improvement 5312 College Way Street Improvement Project from Tower Road to Western Avenue, and to accept Interstate Engineering's professional service proposal for design in the amount of $18,500 in order the project plans and specifications. If approved, we feel we have to do a little bit more research, but we may have the ability to put this project out for bids and potentially get this resurfaced this fall and completed. So all costs are eligible expenses for our state aid account.
Thank you, Brian. Any questions of Brian?
I'll offer, Your Honor.
Thank you, Scott.
Second.
Thank you, Tom. Further discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Hicks.
Yes.
Pepper.
Yes.
Fish.
Yes.
Rachel.
Yes.
Rupert.
Yes.
Arneson.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Speedo.
Yes.
Resolution is approved. Thank you, Brian. Tonight we have claims in the amount of $1,377,225.94. We don't have a finance director, so I hope we don't have any questions. If we do, I bet you Andrew would be able to.
I'll try.
Any questions? If not, do we have a resolution to?
I'll make that.
Thank you, Anthony.
Second.
Tom, second.
Just a question.
Yes.
I was doing the math and I was off by like about 15 cents and that, I was just,
Try again.
We'll wait till Bill gets back on that.
I got a dime and a nickel, Rod.
Yeah.
Roll call.
He's got a dime, I got a nickel.
Hicks.
Yes.
Pepper.
Yes.
Fish.
Yes.
Rachel.
Yes.
Rupert.
Yes.
Arneson.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Speedo.
yes.
Resolution is approved. Under Board, Committee, and Department reports, item number 1 is the resolution approving the variance for the placement of an accessory building not to exceed 250 square feet on the south side yard in lieu of constructing the rear 1/3. Property located at 1332 East Fur Avenue. April.
This is a very similar request that has been come before you, Your Honor and council members. The owner of this property is wanting a small accessory garage in the rear, or the south side of her lot, and she's located on the corner. So where that utility trailer is sitting is where she would like to construct a detached accessory structure not to exceed 250 square feet. It was sent out to a 350-foot radius from the property, notices, and put in the Daily Journal 10 days prior to the hearing. The neighbors directly to the south had some concerns and wanted to make sure that it did not exceed 12 feet in height and that it would match the primary house's facade. And that is defined in our city ordinances, that any detached accessory structure must match the primary structure's facade.
Thank you, April. Any questions of April? This one did go through the committee.
Board of Zoning,
Board
yes.
of Zoning, correct, yeah.
I will offer that.
Thank you, Jim. Second. Darren, thank you. Any further questions? If not, roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Resolution is approved. Under reports from staff and administrative officers, we will need a resolution seeking request for proposals for the rehabilitation of 315 East Vassa Avenue and the redevelopment of a lot located at 502 South Sheridan, which are properties we've recently acquired, correct, April?
Correct. We acquired these as the city back in October, November of 2016. The EIC city planner, myself and Andrew met to discuss these properties. I'm gonna go to the other one, if you would, Lynn. There you go. So I'm gonna just address 315 East Vassa. This was a house that was deeded to the city. When we acquired it, it was full of items. It was hard to assess. Once we got all the items out of there, the house is structurally sound and could be rehabbed. We had some contractors come through and try and give us some estimates, and then there was interest in potentially rehabbing this house. So that's why this request is coming before you this evening. The other part of this request is this house is a 1904 structure. If you look around in the neighborhood, it's very characteristic of this neighborhood. It's one of the neighborhoods that we have in Fergus Falls. As you drive around, that's characteristic of the 1904 era.
So, April, what would the seeking request, would it go out to in the paper? How would we ask for the request?
If you look at the RFP for this house, it would go out, the marketing would start tomorrow, going in all the local publications, Facebook, Daily Journal, PEG Access, and other public media. Proposals would be reviewed by the Building EIC Community Development Department, and recommendation brought back to council for approval on July 17th. There are some key points in this RFPs for both these properties, or for this property. The city would want to see it maintained in the integrity of the architectural structure. We would want to try and recoup the costs that have been spent in abatement of this property. We'd also have some landscaping costs, or landscape requirements as well. On the back page of the recommendation to council are the costs that have been spent to date on this property. And then I'm gonna jump to the vacant lot. And in that RFP, I'd like to just make one correction on the first page. I had copied and pasted, and it should be the city of Fergus Falls, not the city of Shoreview, so I'd like to make that correction. And this is what the house looked like prior to demolition. It had sat vacant for quite a few years. Now it has been demolished, removed from site, and it is a buildable lot. So we'd like to seek an RFP for a developer to come in with a proposal for a new structure, single-family dwelling to be constructed on the site.
So we have, just so for those who aren't, we have about 12,000 in the 315 East Vassa, and 16, almost 17,000 in the, because of demolition costs for
Demolition, asbestos abatement.
Any questions of April?
Your Honor.
Thank you, Anthony. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Jim. Roll call, please.
Hicks.
Yes.
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 Could I just add one comment? I think, I know you get a lot of stick, April, but this is a good job. I mean, it's taken two properties that were difficult, for the residents and for the city, and we're going to turn them into something positive. So I think it's a good job. So
I'll
makes your
second
job
that
worthwhile.
Thanks, April.
All right, next up is the Downtown and Riverfront Master Plan update. Amy Baldwin.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Just providing our monthly update on the Downtown and Riverfront Master Plan process. And what we have coming up next is the third and final open house that we have planned for the process. There is a flyer at each of your chairs this evening on this open house, which, as we've mentioned previously, will be held in conjunction with the Shop, Move, and Groove event on Thursday, July 13th from 3 to 7 p.m. The main location for the open house will be within the senior center, so we'll be able to tap into all that traffic right on Lincoln Avenue associated with the Shop, Move, and Groove event. And then we'll also have some demonstration projects that we can direct people towards out the back door of the senior center into the parking lots that we've often discussed as part of this planning process. There will be a community advisory committee meeting and related to those demonstration or projects that we'll be looking at this week. And there's some ideas that we've had generated, and we want to vet those with the community advisory committee and then also solicit their volunteerism for supporting those projects. And it's going to be a busy day. There's a lot of folks involved with a lot of different activities associated with Shop, Move, and Groove, but we want to make our activities be part of that activity and help further inform our master planning process. So one of the ideas is how can we visualize that river balcony along the parking lots between Union and Mill Street? So having something that we'll figure out how we're going to do that, but something that will demonstrate that kind of pedestrian movement along the river on the north side of the river at the higher level, or the parking lot level. And to draw people back there, we're partnering with the library to do a story walk along that visualized river balcony. So we're glad to have that opportunity to work with the library on that project. So kind of bring that into it. We have planned kayaking and paddleboard activities in Veterans Park, as that's been talked about, access to the river, activity on the river, and so that's one that we have planned for that day, and then hopefully additional days throughout the summer to correlate with other activities. And then a gathering space of sorts, again, focus on the parking lot here across from City Hall, and some sort of temporary installation around the idea of the amphitheater along the slope of the riverbank. Again, we'll be working with our advisory committee to determine what that looks like and how that's temporarily installed. But we have a number of ideas that we'll walk through with the advisory committee and really think could be fun, especially with some of the activities, the movie in the park that's planned in City Hall Park that night. So, we're going to leverage what's already happening around Shop, Move, and Groove to bring those ideas into this final master plan. So the imagery that will be presented in more the formalized open house, as we've done in the council chambers previously, will be more around the broader study area, not as focused on those concept areas or potential project areas as they have been in the past. It's going to bring it back out to more of the whole study area and the other public realm improvements and things that might be incorporated within that master plan. So that it will be different from the kind of the presentation of boards and things like that. But we think it'll be a really fun event, and we're going to really have a goal of attracting a lot of people coming in, for the Shop, Move, and Groove event itself, but not to detract what they're doing, but to leverage what they're doing within that event. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, look forward to seeing everyone on July 13th from 3 to 7 p.m.
Questions for Amy? Thank you, Amy.
Thanks.
Under M, old and unfinished business, we have Update on the Regional Treatment Center. Item 1A is an update on building number 29. Anthony, Andrew, did you guys?
I'll start it off.
Oh, okay.
Your Honor, members of the council, at the last meeting, we were instructed to visit with the Otter Tail County Historical Society and the Friends of the Kirkbride regarding Building 29, which is the memorial building on the Regional Treatment Center campus, with the possible use of that building as a museum or memorial to the Regional Treatment Center. I know Anthony, or Councilmember Hicks and myself have both reached out to Chris Schulke, Wayne Hurley, who's the chair of the board at the Historical Society, and then Lori Mullen with the Friends of the Kirkbride. And I know they're in the audience here tonight. I don't know if Chris was hoping to speak to the council or not about the issue, but the response I got from Mr. Hurley, the chair, is that they were going to visit about this topic at their next board meeting, which is later this week. Thursday. So they don't have a definitive answer for us at this time. I don't know if you want to add anything or if Lori does, but.
We don't either. We're you know, obviously wanting to support what the museum does too, as volunteers and such, so we'll wait to hear what they move forward.
Your Honor, if I may, I obviously reached out to obviously Chris at the museum and Laurie for the Friends of the Kirkbride and Lois Jolson as well, and obviously I think it would be fair to say that the Historical Society would obviously be interested in supporting it, but not necessarily leading anything on that, and obviously, but that would be a board decision by their team. I think, and obviously Laurie, feel free to sort of step in, but I think, the Friends of the Kirkbride didn't necessarily feel that it was a project that they would want to lead at this time either. And I spoke to, obviously, Lois Jolson as well, and I think her feeling was that, she didn't particularly feel that was a suitable building for the project, but she would prefer to see more of the tower be used as that. So I suggested that perhaps that was something that she should bring forward as a plan on doing something along those lines. But at this point, there's nobody looking to step up and take a lead on doing anything.
So I guess at this point, we'll wait until the Historical Society has their board meeting and see if there's something update in the 3rd of July meeting. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I should speak without my board of, I mean.
Certainly.
I still have a group I have to report to.
Absolutely. Thanks, Chris. We'll wait till July 3rd. We'll wait till July 3rd. Anything else on that? Item B is an update on the tax credits, but I don't believe we have that update tonight. Andrew?
Yeah, Your Honor, members of the council, we were one day late on the proposal for the professional service agreement with this law firm. We did find a specialized attorney out of the Duluth area that specializes in this subject matter, and they agreed to help us with this tax credit issue and how anything that we do on our property would impact neighboring properties. I'm expecting to get that proposal tomorrow. It just didn't work with people being in and out of offices last week. We'll administratively review that proposal, and we'll have something back in terms of a good, solid legal opinion at the next city council meeting on July 3rd. So it was just a day late on getting that proposal, but we'll review it and we'll get things sorted through and have that legal opinion at our next city council meeting.
Thank you, Andrew. Any questions of Andrew? All right. Any new business to come before the council?
Your Honor, just one comment, if I may. I met some people from the Center of the Arts yesterday, and there's over 200 kids enrolled in the program this year. I think, I know we partially give some money to the Center of the Arts, but I think that's a great job. I mean, we had tonight, the golf course was 70 kids. There's over 200 kids singing and wailing, so, that's a great thing that's going on.
5 of mine.
How many? 5?
5 of mine. 2.5% of those are mine.
But, we're doing good things for kids at the moment, so.
Yeah, great point, Anthony. Great point. Tom, did you have something that you wanted to bring up?
I did, yes. As you may or may not be aware, the MS Tram is coming to town. It's a weekend event. We've been selected to host for the second year in a row, which is pretty uncommon from what I understand. It's Friday, July 21st through Sunday the 23rd. The riders will be getting here on Friday, going for a one-day loop on Saturday, and then coming back and staying Saturday night. So we'll have a group of a few hundred riders that are staying overnight. Tram it stands for the Ride Across Minnesota. It's a 5-day ride, and just wanted to encourage the community as a whole to step up. We're still looking for quite a few volunteers. I think we're about 100 volunteers short. We need people to do everything from help load luggage to just direct traffic and just assist with the riders while they're here. A chance for us to really show off our city and what we've got here, and just a chance to help out a great cause supporting multiple sclerosis research. So please, you can contact me if you're interested in volunteering. My contact information's widely available. So if you're interested, let me know. I'll get you directed to the right person. But I would love to see a plethora of volunteers come forward for that. So thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Good cause. And it's good for our community, that's for sure. Any other thing to come before the council?
Just one thing, Your Honor.
Yeah, Rod.
I was listening to Bev Johnson's gardening show, and she's pretty good, by the way. She has a book that says "Water the Snot Out of It." If you ever got, it's a great book. She made the comment, and because it was made public, I just want us to clarify as a city that she said that the city was cutting healthy ash trees because they were afraid that we were going to get the ash borer disease. And she made the comment on the show that that won't be here for like 10 to 15 years. So I just thought we should, since it was publicly made, we should maybe clarify that, at some point, that hopefully the city isn't cutting healthy trees, anticipating disease when it probably won't be here, at least according to her. So I just wanted to make sure we didn't have a false impression out there. Maybe just make a note of it and
Maybe we could ask.
get it officially on record that we're not doing that or something. I just didn't like that. I like Bev, but I just didn't want to have the wrong information out there.
Watermelon.
Yeah.
All right. Maybe we could have a guy speak to that at the next council meeting. Just to- Thank you, Rod. Anything else before the council? If not, just a couple of miscellaneous announcements. July 3rd is our next meeting, 4:30 Committee of the Whole, and then, of course, as we mentioned at our last Committee of the Whole, we'll have that strategic planning session on July 17th at 2 o'clock. With that, we are adjourned.
Mr. Mayor, we were talking about that.